Welcome back. We now reach the heart of carbon finance. Part B, pricing carbon. Everything hinges on this. If we can get the price of carbon right, markets do much of the hard work for us, hunting out the cheapest emission cuts across the whole economy. If we get it wrong, too low, too patchy, too easy to dodge, then all the green labels and pledges in the world won't move the needle. So let's understand how a carbon price actually works and how the two great instruments, taxes and markets, compare. Start with the economics, because it's beautifully simple and it's the foundation for everything. Emissions are what economists call a negative externality. When a factory emits carbon dioxide, it imposes a cost on the whole world through climate damage, but it doesn't personally bear that cost. The damage is socialized while the profit is private. So the factory emits too much because emitting is free to it. A carbon price fixes this by internalizing the cost. It forces the emitter to pay for the damage it causes, which nudges every firm and consumer toward cleaner choices automatically. How high should that price be? Economists try to estimate the social cost of carbon, the monetary damage caused by emitting one extra ton. The United States Environmental Protection Agency's 2023 central estimate put it at around $190 per ton of carbon dioxide. Now hold that number next to reality, and here's the sobering punchline. Most carbon prices in the world today are far below the social cost of carbon. We are, almost everywhere, still undercharging for the damage, which means we're still emitting too much. Getting the price right isn't just a technicality, it's the single biggest lever we have. There are two main ways to put a price on carbon, and the difference between them is genuinely elegant. It's a choice about what you fix and what you let float. The first is a carbon tax. Here, the government simply sets the price per ton. The great advantage is cost certainty. Firms know exactly what carbon will cost, which makes planning and investment easy. The drawback is that the quantity of emission cuts is uncertain. You set the price and hope it delivers enough reductions. A carbon tax is simple and transparent, but politically very hard because nobody likes the word tax. The second instrument is cap and trade, also called an emissions trading system. Here the government does the opposite. It sets the quantity, a hard cap on total emissions, and lets the market set the price. The advantage is environmental certainty. You know emissions will fall to the cap, guaranteed. The drawback is that the price is uncertain, set by supply and demand for allowances, and it can swing. Its clever feature is that tradable allowances reward whoever can cut most cheaply. So the fundamental trade-off is this: a tax fixes the price and gambles on the quantity. Cap and trade fixes the quantity and gambles on the price. Which you prefer depends on whether you care more about certainty over cost or certainty over the environment. Let's make cap and trade concrete because it's the model Europe chose. Picture it in 3 steps. First, the regulator sets a cap, a hard ceiling on total emissions for all covered firms combined, and issues exactly that many allowances, each permitting 1 ton of carbon dioxide. Second, firms must hold 1 allowance for every ton they emit. And third, the magic step, firms can trade those allowances. Now watch what that trading achieves. A firm that can cut emissions cheaply will do so and sell its spare allowances for a profit. A firm for which cutting is very expensive will instead buy allowances rather than cut. The result is that emissions get reduced wherever it's cheapest to reduce them across the entire market automatically, without the regulator needing to know anything about individual firms' costs. The market discovers the cheapest path to the target. That's the beauty of the design. It guarantees the environmental outcome, the cap, while minimizing the total cost of getting there. The flagship example is the European Union Emissions Trading System, the ETS. Launched in 2005, it was the world's first and remains its largest carbon market, covering power generation, heavy industry, and aviation. Its history comes in 4 phases, and the trajectory tells a story of learning from mistakes. In the early phases, allowances were handed out free by national governments, and far too many were issued. So the price collapsed, and the system barely bit. Price collapsed, and the system barely bit. Over time, it evolved into an EU-wide auction-based system with a cap that declines steadily every year. Under the European Union's Fit for 55 package, the cap now falls faster, and a mechanism called the Market Stability Reserve props up the price by removing surplus allowances. The payoff of all this reform: prices rose to roughly 60 to 90 euros per tonne of carbon dioxide, finally high enough to actually change behaviour. For most of its life, the ETS was too cheap to matter. Only recently has it grown teeth. This chart shows that whole journey in one line, the price of a European allowance over time. For years, it languished at just a few euros per tonne, far too low to drive any real abatement. A firm could pollute almost for free, so the market did little. Then, driven by the reforms we just discussed, the tightening cap, the Market Stability Reserve, and rising climate ambition, the price climbed sharply into the range where it genuinely influences investment decisions. The lesson embedded in this chart is important. A carbon market is only as effective as its price, and its price is only as high as the political will to keep the cap tight. Design it loosely, and you get a decade of near-zero prices and no impact. Design it seriously, and it starts to work. Zoom out from Europe to the whole world, and here are 3 numbers from the World Bank's 2024 report for the year 2023. First, there are now 75 carbon pricing instruments in operation around the world, taxes and trading systems combined. Second, together they cover around 24% of global emissions, up dramatically from just 7% a decade or so earlier. And third, they raised a record $104 billion in revenue in 2023. So the good news is real momentum. Carbon pricing is spreading, and it's now raising serious money that governments can, in principle, recycle back to citizens or into the transition. But keep the glass half-empty view in mind too. Even at 24% coverage, more than 3/4 of global emissions still carry no carbon price at all. We've made real progress, but most of the world's carbon is still free to emit. There's a serious problem lurking in any ambitious carbon price, and Europe's answer to it is genuinely innovative. The problem is called carbon leakage. If Europe prices carbon heavily, but its trading partners don't, then energy-intensive production simply moves abroad, to places where emitting is still free. Europe's emissions fall on paper, but global emissions don't. The pollution just relocated, and European industry loses out too. The European Union's solution is the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, or CBAM. The idea is to put a carbon price on imports coming into the European Union, so that a ton of steel made in a high-emitting factory abroad faces the same carbon cost as one made inside Europe. It covers the most carbon-intensive goods: cement, iron and steel, aluminium, fertilizers, electricity, and hydrogen. It began with a transitional reporting phase in October 2023, and from 2026, importers must actually buy CBAM certificates, whose price mirrors the ETS allowance price. This is a genuine first, an attempt to extend a carbon price across borders and to stop climate ambition from simply exporting its emissions. It's also legally and diplomatically contentious. Trading partners see it as protectionism dressed in green, so it's a space to watch closely. Let's recap. Pricing carbon works by internalizing the externality, and the social cost of carbon, around $190 a ton, is far above most real prices. There are 2 instruments. A tax fixes the price, cap and trade fixes the quantity, and lets the market find the cheapest cuts. The European Union's ETS is the flagship, finally biting at 60 to 90 euros a ton after years too cheap. Carbon pricing now covers about a quarter of global emissions, and the new CBAM extends the price to imports to stop carbon leakage. In the next video, we turn to the murkier side of carbon markets, voluntary offsets, and the integrity crisis that has engulfed them. See you there.